Hello, aviation enthusiasts. Welcome to today's episode of Career TV. I'm Lerato Molokwane, and today we are focusing on the highest license a pilot can obtain, the Airline Transport Pilot License, also known as the ATPL. Ever wondered what it takes to command a commercial airliner? Or what the difference is between a fixed-wing plane and a helicopter? We've got answers for you today. Before we get started, remember to smash that like button, subscribe, and click on that notification bell so you do not miss out on all our exciting career content. Our goal is to reach 2,000 subscribers by our next video. So if you enjoy the content, subscribe. Joining us today are two incredible professionals who have achieved the highest pilot license, and today we also have a special guest, a future aviator. Let's jump right into it. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. And please introduce yourself to the viewers and just tell them a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Lerato. My name is Captain Nzvotolo Same. I come from Tsolo, a modest village in the Eastern Cape. I attended my initial studies there, primary, in the local school. And then I went to a school just in the neighboring village called Little Flower Primary School. I went to Holy Cross High School, where I did my higher education studies. Then I went to the University of Cape Town, where I registered for BSc Mechanical Engineering. Then I went to Australia, where I acquired my frozen ATPL first because I didn't have the hours. And then eventually I completed my flight test, which then gave me the full ATPL qualification.
Lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lerato. My name is Kolani Koza. I come from Orange Farm. I was raised there basically, and I am a helicopter pilot. I went to school. I started out as an air traffic controller, studied in the Eastern Cape. That was at 43 Air School. And then I got a bursary with Transnet to fly helicopters. So did my studies in the Western Cape, worked a little bit in Durban as well. And yeah, that did my hour building as an instructor, and I became an airline transport pilot license holder.
Lindsay, I'll start with you. Maybe give our viewers an overview on what differentiates a airline transport pilot license holder to the normal license holders as well.
So there's 4 licenses you acquire as you do your pilot training. You start with the SPF, which is the student pilot license that allows you to train to become a pilot. And then once you acquire that license, you get the PPL, which is the private pilot license. Now, the private pilot license allows you to just fly for fun. You can take your family, you can take your friends, but you don't get a remuneration for that. And then you get to a CPL, which is the third highest. The CPL is the commercial pilot license. Now, that makes you a professional pilot. You get remunerated for flying. Work for airlines, can work for private aircraft owners. And then you get the highest license, which is the ATPF, which Kolani and I possess. Now, the airline transport pilot license benefits are: 1, you can be a commander of any aeroplane that flies passengers.
Okay.
To acquire the ATPL, obviously, you need 1,500 hours, total flying hours, and then you need 250 hours piloting command. You need to have instrument rating, you need to have a night rating, you need to be above 21 years of age.
Okay, thank you so much for shedding light on that. Kolani, I'll just go over to you. Just maybe if you could just take us through the different types of training that you are required, and maybe you can share on your journey on what it was like to obtaining that ATPL.
Okay, so as Captain Z said, the requirements are more or less the same for ATPL helicopter and ATPL fixed wing. I think as a student, my journey as a student, I had to do a lot of balancing with theory and with the actual flying, the skills. With becoming a pilot, you need to be able to have a balance of both. After getting my commercial pilot license, I became an instructor to actually start building my hours towards my airline transport pilot license. As some may know, the gap between your commercial pilot license and your ATPL, the requirements, it's huge and it can be very costly. So you need to find ways to hour build. And my chosen way was to do charter flights and do instruction as well, which I learned a lot from. And until I got to that, very challenging, but very rewarding as well, because you get to impart a little bit of knowledge to other people and then take them through their training as well.
Zia, I'm just going to over to you. Maybe just shed on your journey as well, and maybe the challenges that you probably faced going into the industry as well as being an air pilot's license.
When I started my flying, we didn't even have role models. We didn't have people we looked up to. We didn't have people we can always call and say, I'm stuck in this situation now. What advice can you give? But fortunately enough, the new generation, they've got people like me, people like Trolane and other black aviators out there that have gone through the hard part so that they can go through, call it the softer part. But the financial aspect of it is also a very big challenge in aviation training, because you're looking at plus minus more than R1 million just to get to your commercial pilot license. And like Bolana has just mentioned, the gap between being a CPL holder and acquiring an ATPL, you're looking at about 1,250 hours to attain, to get the 1,500 hours I was talking about earlier on. So that gap is very costly. And obviously some students then go the instructor route, or you do the charter flying.
Okay, and maybe to share your joys as well that you enjoyed experiencing.
Yeah, I can write a book about the joys of flying. Firstly, I can say to you, I have literally touched in every continent of the world. I can't even start mentioning the cities because they just are so many. But the most memorable moment I have is when I was flying as a co-pilot, flying the 747-400 for South African Airways, and we landed in London. As we touched down, the captain was training me, said, Mzi, you have arrived. A boy from Tsolo has just landed a 747-400 in London, one of the busiest airports in the world. That was touching for me. It made me feel so good. It made me feel like I need to go back home and give back, so that even a person from Tsolo, from the village I come from, can know that it's not impossible. If I can do it, they can do it.
Absolutely. And Xolani, I'm just going to go over to you as well. Just maybe share your joys as well as maybe what it took for you and what it means to you to be an airline transport license holder.
All right. So I think I became a helicopter pilot because it was very practical work and I'm a practical person. And it came with a lot of adventure, a lot of joys of having to go to these surreal destinations and just making a change in people's lives as well. I've been involved in search and rescue operations. I've been involved in passenger transfers. And one of the joys that I experienced was actually flying in Antarctica on the ice in the South Pole, which is surreal because it's daylight 24/7, the weather conditions, it's very cold as well. And yeah, you have to like just tune your mind into tricking yourself that, okay, now it's night, even though you can see the sun outside. You need to sleep, you need to operate in that environment, check the weather. So all of those things combined, I feel like it's one of those experiences that a lot of people don't get to experience in a lifetime. Being a pilot or pilot training is one of those careers which are out of the mainstream. So there's no financial aid, which is the first challenge, but it is very possible. It's attainable. I did it. You can do it. Anybody can do it. You just need to push yourself. And there's student loans, which is how I got into the space to begin with. I took a student loan and then I did my air traffic control training. And then from there on, I was within the industry. So it was a little bit easier to maneuver from then on.
Of course. Thank you so much for actually sharing light on that. And while we're on that, we do have an aviator, a future aviator, who has joined us today, and she would like to give our pilots today a few questions.
Good day, my name is Katichelo Ramanala. I am a student of Rhodesfield Engineering School of Specialization, and I've always found for aviation to be one of the most fascinating of these industries. My first question is, given the rigorous training that pilots have to undergo, what was the most intense part of that training?
Because we didn't have people we looked up to, and pilot training was something totally new. I remember when we started doing flights and we did, it was a holding pattern that I was totally lost. What is a holding pattern in flying? So the instructor had to literally draw on the ground a holding pattern, and we walked around, as aeroplanes fly, imagining ourselves as aeroplanes. So I think the challenge initially for me was understanding the whole concept of flying, what is flying, and relating it to the things that I know. But pilots, I couldn't relate because there was no pilot I knew.
Thank you. And my second question is, As someone who doesn't come from a very privileged background, how feasible is it for one like me to access such an industry?
All right, I think it's very feasible, and I think that's the stigma that we need to break about pilot training. It's not for the rich. It's not for privileged individuals. It's for everyone. Everybody can get access to it. It's just a matter of exposure and just surrounding yourself with people who are within the same industry as you want. You can go to airports, go to career expos, and yeah, as far as funding goes, it's still a challenge, but there's the SACAA, there is TETA, there's government bursaries, and there is even the private sector. I think there's a couple of companies which do it. So it's just plugging yourself in and keeping your ear on the ground on what is happening and when. And yeah, there's different ways of getting into it, but it's something which is very attainable.
Fantastic advice. Thank you so much, Katu, for those questions. And to Mzi and Xolani, thank you so much for joining us and shedding light on this beautiful journey and the career that you guys have taken on. And it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you.
And to our viewers, remember, the skies are not just about flying. They are about ensuring every flight is safe and smooth. Who knows, you might find yourself as the next pilot. Thank you again for tuning into Career TV. If you have any questions about what was discussed today or feedback, comment below. And just before we go, we have a special quiz for you. The questions are on the screen. Give all your answers on the comments below, and we will be choosing the lucky winner. And just like that, we want to know any other aviation-related careers you are interested in. To ensure that you get all this content, ensure you follow us on our social media pages that are on the screen. Don't forget to click on that subscribe button so you do not miss out on our monthly Career TV episodes and all our exciting aviation content. Remember guys, our goal is to get to 2,000 subscribers by our next video. Until next time, keep your head in the clouds and your feet on the ground. Safe travels. I'm your host, Lerato, signing out.